Cam Skattebo's season is almost certainly over after being carted off the field as a result of this severe right ankle injury sustained on this play as he was tackled versus the Philadelphia Eagles. In this video, we'll take a closer look what exactly happened here, the injury, how this is treated, and what it could mean for the budding young star going forward. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and the goal in this channel is to teach you more about the medical side of the sports world. So let's take a look here at what happened with Cam Skattebo and his, no doubt in my mind, season-ending ankle injury. Here, as Skattebo is being tackled, this is essentially the mechanism for what we see countless times in the NFL every week with a high ankle sprain. As he's being tackled to the ground here, we're going to be, of course, keeping an eye on his right foot. And look at how his right foot and ankle gets caught underneath of him as he's being dragged down to the ground. Of course, he doesn't have the ball, so he's being taken down here. That right foot gets planted right there underneath the ground. We'll make it a little bit bigger here so you can see this easier. And as that goes on, his ankle is going to be dorsiflexed, so his foot is locked upwards. Those toes are up towards the shin. You can even see how the shin right here is forward over his toes. What that's going to do is it's going to lock the ankle joint in a more stable place where the bones don't have as much play and as much room to go. Then as this play continues, the weight of the Eagles defender falls onto the lateral side of Skattebo's right leg. What this is going to do is it's going to force his ankle and foot into external rotation and eversion of his ankle. So here in this position, Skattebo's ankle is completely everted outwards in an externally rotated position. That is going to put excessive amounts of stress on the high ankle sprain ligament, the syndesmosis, called the AITFL. It's going to stress the deltoid. It's going to lead to potential fracture, dislocation of his right ankle. And that's what we're dealing here with Skattebo, is a almost certainly fracture dislocation, potentially an open or compound fracture. As Skattebo is down on the ground here, we can see how that foot is pointed outwards. That's that external rotation relative to the angle of his shin, again suggesting the position of his ankle being dislocated from that tibio-talar joint. Now, there's no need to show the actual graphic nature of the bone here. I would be concerned this is open, meaning the bone broke through the skin. You can go find that elsewhere. That doesn't add anything to the point. You can understand it just from me describing and just what we're seeing here as his left foot is blocking it. So his left foot, toes are pointed upwards. His right leg, we see his shin pointed forwards. But then if you look down here where that right foot is going to be, it's completely at 90 degrees relative to the shin. In this position, his ankle is dislocated and there's almost certainly fracture as well of that joint. You can see that again from this view of not showing the bone itself, how that foot is pointed external, completely externally rotated in the common position whenever the ankle is dislocated. So what's the medical staff doing here to initially manage this? What am I doing if I'm covering? Number one, you go out on the field, you clearly see the deformity. You clearly see right away that the ankle is dislocated. Your first step is to attempt closed reduction, meaning you're trying to reposition the ankle, that talus within the tibio-talar joint, to help try to ease some tension off structures, make sure there's no tension on nerves, blood vessels, etc., and also help with comfort. You then want to stabilize and get to the hospital. What you're going to do in this position is you're going to apply traction, meaning you're going to take your hands on his heel and you're going to pull on the back of the calcaneus to apply traction. That traction eases some of the tension on everything, keeping it locked nice in place. And then you're going to gently bring it back around into that neutral position to try and reset that talus bone within the ankle joint. So number one, you get out there on the field, attempt a closed reduction. They'll see, right? They'll probably be able to tell right away if the bone's poking through the skin or not. That would be what we call a compound fracture dislocation or an open fracture dislocation. They're not necessarily going to be worried about any of that right now. They might apply like some betadine or some antiseptic over top of it before covering, but they're going to reduce the ankle joint, get him stabilized and off to the hospital. Then, of course, we see as he's being taken off the field, his ankle is now in a reduced position. We can see it looks like the foot is pointed forward, so that's great. They were able to get it back in place. Air cast is on here, vacuum splint, to maintain that stability while they get him off to the hospital. Looking at our biodigital anatomy tool here, let's highlight those key structures involved. So when I talk about the ankle joint, I'm talking about the joint between the talus, which is the main bone of the ankle, the tibia, and the fibula. The tibia is the shin bone, the fibula is the bone on the outside. On the lateral or outer part of the ankle, it's going to be stabilized by the three lateral ankle ligaments, the ATFL, CFL, PTFL, and then running right through this area right here is going to be the AITFL. That's the high ankle sprain ligament. That one is especially important because remember, in this position where you take this foot and you externally rotate it, that rotation is going to cause the tibia and the fibula to want to split apart from one another. The AITFL, the syndesmosis running here between the fibula and the tibia, is what helps to maintain that stability and keep things in place. That ligament is going to be torn when you have a dislocation like this. And then on the inner part of the ankle is the medial stabilizing structures, the deltoid. These ligaments are going to be stressed with that eversion. So that eversion, the foot going this direction, from the foot being stuck underneath Skattebo as the player came in this way, forces the foot into eversion, external rotation, ligaments fail, joint dislocates, and most likely fracture as well. We've seen a lot of players have this type of injury, of course, Dak Prescott recently, and we've seen a lot of them come back and do really well. So this is not in and of itself a career-threatening injury. What you have to remember is that there can be trauma to the cartilage. There can be other things than just the joint coming out, and often those other things have more of an impact on the long-term health of the player. It's fairly easy, right, all things considered, to get the joint reduced to fix the fractures. It's the healing of the soft tissue, it's the possible cartilage damage, it's the damage to any surrounding nerves or blood vessels that can play a major role. The nice thing, if we just highlight one thing I don't think I've actually talked about before, you know, we talk about with blood vessels and nerves, right? When Tyreek Hill had his dislocation up at his knee, there's a very important nerve blood vessel that runs around the knee. When it comes to the ankle, there are important nerves and blood vessels around the ankle. On the medial side is the posterior tibial nerve, and then in the front, you're going to have a branch of the common peroneal nerve extending all the way down. And those are going to provide innervation and sensation to the muscles of the foot. But the muscles that control the ankle originate up higher in the leg. Those muscles originate way up here and have already been innervated by the time the nerve gets down to the ankle. So nerve damage from an ankle dislocation, much more likely to cause foot weakness in the intrinsic foot muscles, which again can have an impact on a player's physical function, but not maybe to the extent of a nerve injury around the knee, just because there's not as many muscles further downstream. So keeping that anatomy in mind, looking back through this one more time, of course, as I said, Skattebo comes down to the ground here. His right foot anchors, plants into the turf. His tibia is forward over his foot. That's going to put his ankle into a dorsiflex position that engages more of the ankle joint. As his momentum falls, the defender falls on the side. His foot gets forced into an everted position with external rotation. That's going to cause failure of likely the deltoid ligaments. The high ankle ligament force continues to transfer through, ultimately leading to a full-on dislocation, likely fracture of the ankle joint. That's it for the video, everybody. Let me know, as always, any questions or comments down below. Hope you learned something here. And until next time, we'll see you later.